We have recently purchased this Toyota MR2 Mark II for a bargain price of £250, and we were very fortunate with this car because it actually comes with a complete roll cage, perspex windows, you name it, and this is just like the old Gran Turismo days, which we truly loved. But there was an actual issue with this car that we really needed to address, and that is a problem.
We got no windows, do we? No, do we?
We actually purchased an engine off of eBay that after stripping down, it actually was complete scrap. So drowning our sorrows, we went to the first Food and Fuel event and met up with AutoAlex, who kindly bought us a beer, and then on Instagram decided to say MR2 versus Phil, let's go, hill climb on the 21st September, so we have no time to lose. So guys, literally I have seen the donor car that I really need for the MR2 build, and we need this. Currently the bids are at 10 seconds, 9, 8, 7, 6. I'm not sure what's happened. Still says they determine the winner. 1342. There we go. Not quite sure if I'm excited or nervous, or I've got to go frantically work right now. Yeah, 1342. I'm actually shaking. 1342. So after we actually won the auction, we contacted the seller, who kindly sent us a video of the engine running.
There you are. Engine running.
So I quickly booked a ferry, which cost me an absolute fortune, but I arranged a deal with a Jaguar XJR I had to shorten the distance to get the donor car, and look how lovely this crossing really was. And yes, it was expensive, but this actually made me feel loads better. And with such a nice crossing, chilling, drinking a coffee, we had to get back to the car and then get to Portsmouth, where we was meeting the guy to unload and quickly load up our donor car. Can you guess what it is yet? And I'm sure by the title you already know, but here it is. And yes guys, it is another Toyota MR2 Mark II, but this one is a turbo, whereas our track build is a non-turbo and obviously doesn't have an engine. This has had a nasty front end impact, but what a cool car. It's a GTS model. It comes with a few extras as well, which we will tell you as we go through in the video. But for now, let's get back home on another beautiful crossing. Morning guys, you join us on this beautiful day, and yes, it is the following day, and I'm super excited. You can see a little glimpse of the car there, and we are literally going to show you any second. But a huge thanks to Martin at MJG Greats for sorting out this recovery truck. Literally, it has been as good as gold, and I love it already. You know, when you've got a good old donkey, this is one of them. So super happy. Thank you, Martin. But the reason we are doing this video is for the donor car. Let's show you guys what we have bought. So yes guys, we have bought this MR2 Turbo with a really nasty front end damage, and yeah, that one must have hurt, but the engine is spot on and everything in the rear end that we need is all there. We've got the loom, we've got the ECU and everything that we need, so we can literally just get this engine, get the loom and put it in our MR2, because they are both Rev 2s. So we're not going to talk too much. We're just going to get this inside and we're going to get this engine right out. So just reversing in the recovery truck in the new part of the unit for the first time, pulling out the ramps here and then just unstrapping everything with the help from my mum as well. Thank you so much for all of your help. So we're just lowering the car down very, very slowly because the front steering rack is actually a bit bent, so the steering keeps trying to go off course, if you like, but it actually went down really, really smoothly, as you can see. And as you saw in the time lapse there, we got the MR2 nicely inside with no problems at all. We had to put a little bit of wood just off the ramps there because the exhaust was catching, but other than that, she actually moved, surprisingly enough, even though the front wheels are pretty much buried in the arch, actually rolled back quite nicely. So we are now going to strip this MR2, get that engine out, investigate it more, but the first thing we're going to do is actually start it. So as you can see, probably from the accident, the brake lights are stuck on, probably because the brake sensor is literally squashed. So the brake lights are on, but this car has been stood since 2021, and I've only started it once myself, and that's just literally turn it on and turn it off because there's no radiator, because as you can tell, the front end's knackered. So we're going to start it. Hopefully it starts. Literally purrs lovely. No smoke on start either, which is really good. No horrible knocking noises. We've actually got a decent engine this time. Let's give you a little rev. As you can hear, actually purrs lovely, and not really any smoke. I'm sure it probably will under load, but I'm going to show you a few little extras and what the inside's like while it's running quickly. So as you can see, there is no clocks actually installed, they're in the boot, but we've got this Ep3 electronic boost controller, which is really good, so we needed one of these anyway, so that is really handy. I'm not going to press loads of buttons because I'm probably going to ruin it, but really, really happy that we've got that. As you can see, it is literally in a sorry state, but the rear end, apart from the lights, is actually perfect. Big, big, big exhaust. So before we crack on, we've got the MR2 track build board, and this was a brief little list that I wanted. So now we've actually got the engine. We've got the harness we need, which is, the loom harness. We've got drive shafts, and we got the ECU. We've potentially got these air intakes for the brakes, which is through a guy I know on Instagram that is actually MR2 Scott. So a huge shout out to you, and I will show you the product once I get that from him and give him an even bigger shout out, and he is definitely a very knowledgeable guy. Exhaust, yes, there is one on this one, but we're probably going to sell that one because it's not very nice, but this is how we've got so far. So with all the stuff we've sold, we've made £1,110, and we've bought the car obviously 250, wheels were 200, the rear lights we got 45, and then we bought the whole donor car, which is this one, for 1,300, which was 1,795 minus 1,110, which is £685 that we have spent so far. So what we're quickly doing is we're going to take the boot lid off, get the engine lid off, remove everything like the carpet and all the inspection panels as well, so we've got more access to everything we need to get this engine out. The best thing about these cars is I know mostly every single nut and bolt size, even though I haven't actually touched one of these for many years, but they're quite easy. Most of it's 10, 12, 14 mil, 17, etc. and a screwdriver, and you're pretty much almost there. So as you saw on the time lapse there, just started taking off some of the panels to get out of the way. Got to take these off. Going to start removing all of the rear bumper, the lights and everything like that. And meanwhile, my mum has been cleaning up the interior to get a lot of the glass, which obviously the chains went through to pick it up, out the way, just so it's easier to dismantle to get the stuff out that we need. Almost looks like new in there now. If you actually stood from this side, well, ignore the smashed window screen, looks all right. Just don't look that way, but looks very, very tidy and much better to work in. So we've literally just taken out the boot carpet, the standard ECU, which is here, and we've come across these wires, which I think is possibly to do with the Ep3 boost control, although I'm not sure yet because I haven't traced the wire all the way through. But I'm going to have to mark these wires in what is, or what goes to where from that wire, because I'm going to cut that. So I'm going to mark one black and one white, and then that way I can get this loom completely out and keep this loom also separate. So as you can see here, they normally rot all along down the back there and right underneath where this little air vent is. You can see there is surface rust, but there is no holes. Now, normally you'd be a massive, well, there would be a massive gaping hole down there. This one isn't too bad on this side, and it's pretty good. Obviously this is the offside, so it's a lot better. You can sort of see down there the rust isn't too bad. Again, it's just surface. So yeah, that is a rust lookout for the MR2 that a lot of people miss on these, and sometimes you can actually see that by looking in the rear inner arch there, and you can just see where the, if my camera stops shaking around because of the light, you can see it's just started to go on that edge. So definitely keep an eye out on those rust spots. So now it's actually time to jack the car up and put it on a set of axle stands so we can actually remove the wheels and actually get to all the rear bumper bolts and everything we need to underneath, so we can actually lower this engine and pick the car up over the engine. It's important to remove the bumper so we can get to the eyelets and not damage the bumper or put too much strain or pressure on that bumper, although ours is actually damaged. I'll tell you what, it is hot in here today. It's like 26, 27 degrees outside, so yeah, I'm a bit sweaty. Yeah, very sweaty actually. But what I'm going to show you is this is why I took the bumper off. You see these little hooks here? There's one either side. So what I'm going to do is get a nice big strap and then strap that so it hangs in the middle. And then once I've undone everything in the engine bay, we're going to lift that up and then over the engine once we've dropped the engine out. And that's why the bumper comes off, otherwise you risk damaging the bumper. So we're just going to undo this hub nut, and we're going to undo these arms and also all the suspension leg and everything, and this arm as well. And this arm here, where that bolt goes through to there, these always seize, and they're a right pain. I'm hoping these come out. They're so stiff. Once that pops out, we're good to go. It's also got the Bilstein shocks that are looking very tired, and as you can see, looks like it's got some yellow lowering springs on there as well. Braided brake lines as well. But before we do that, we're actually going to undo all the stuff from the top of the engine, and the reason I didn't do that before I jacked it up is because I'm rather tall. I'm 6'3". These cars are very low. My back hurts, I'm getting old. So I've jacked it up a little bit, so it's a little bit more my height, and I can get to everything a lot easier. So that is the reason I've done it in, you know, reverse, if that makes sense. And then I'm going to go and crawl underneath and get loads of rust in my eyes. Brilliant. So just undoing the throttle cable on this end just to release that. I actually thought it was broken, but it actually has just popped out of the throttle bracket. Now, I might actually need to try and use this cable, but I also might need to get another one because I don't know if it's stretched or damaged the cable. But we have to remove that, move these intercooler pipes, take all these out of the way. Obviously, all the loom which is attached to the body we have to undo. All the coolant lines, everything has to come undone, and these aren't the easiest engines to actually work on. So yeah, in the time lapse, we've managed to undo all the things this side that we needed to do, and we didn't want to just look like on the time lapse it was throwing arms about. So we're going to show you exactly what we've undone for those that might want to do this conversion. As you can see, looking in the engine bay, you have to make sure you undo all of the bits around that are holding the engine to the body. So we've had to undo all of the starter motor and everything like that. These could have stayed on, but we have to remove the main earth cable, which I've removed just here. So you remove that one, and then while you're there, that one has to sort of come off anyway, so you just get it out of the way. Also, we've undone the big vacuum canister. We've moved that out of the way, mainly so we can get to this mount. This is the main purpose of moving everything out of the way. And we've also undone the gear selector cables down there. Now, there is some spade connectors on the top. If you can see there, you follow the gear selector cable just down at the bottom there. You see that? As it's just focused, there's a little spade on top of that. As you can see, there is a little spade just there. We're going to go underneath and just hammer these out. There's one there and there's also one there. So they tap up, and then these gear selector cables move out of that selector bracket housing. Also, we've undone these pipes here, and also we have removed this Ep3 boost controller solenoid, all the wiring which went inside into the interior. So we've looped that through, and the only one we've got left this side is this 17mm fuel pipe, which this bolt comes out. The reason we haven't undone that yet is because we don't know how much fuel is in this vehicle. If we undo that, there's going to be a lot of fuel come out. So the last thing we want to do is undo that, have loads of fuel come out, get it all over the floor, and then we've got to go underneath it yet. So that's going to be the last thing that we undo before we remove the engine. So now undoing that 32mm hub nut there and just loosening everything off, all the arms and everything, so we can actually take this whole suspension leg out, which actually makes it easier for us to get access to the subframe. So yeah, look at my face, absolutely filthy. I love it. So much easier when you've got a ramp, but we don't. So we're just undoing this bar now. There's a 17mm behind here, which is a little bit of a pain to get to. And when you don't have a ramp, you can't quite get the breaker bar underneath to, you know, loosen it. So it's a little bit of a pig. I'm hoping I can squeeze my gun in there, the impact gun, and that should hopefully do it. The drive shaft there, that come out nicely, and as you see, I took the whole suspension strut out with the hub just because it was a lot easier. So what we're going to undo is we're going to undo all the exhaust, take all that out, drop the subframe out as well. Obviously, it's a lot easier to remove the subframe out the way now rather than take the engine out with the subframe, then remove the engine. And we're going to be painting the subframe and stuff anyway. Well, I say we, mine at MJG is going to paint this for us so that looks a bit nicer and not so rusty. So we're going to undo everything underneath that we need to do, but I thought I'd just explain that. So let's crack on. Literally, whoever copper greased this bolt on this car, you are an absolute legend. Look at that, it come out so easy, and that was beautiful. So now that will just wiggle, wiggle, wiggle. Look at that. Oh yeah, it's had a new bush in that as well. So guys, you join me again on another day. It's hard to run a business and do all of this as well, so it's gone into the following day. But both sides of the suspension legs are completely out, as you can see just down there. There's loads of tools and stuff everywhere, which I hate doing, by the way. Hate mess. So I can't wait to get all this tidied up, because yeah, this isn't good. But we've got both legs off, both drive shafts out, and amazing news, it has got an LSD box as well, and I'll show you that when I get the engine out. It's a little bit easier. It's got a bar in it which indicates where, obviously, where the drive shafts go through. There's obviously the hole inside, and there's a little bar which is LSD gearbox, which is great news. So we've got a white line anti roll bar there, which is the adjustable one as well. There we've got those front and rear, so we're very lucky there. But now we're just going to get the massive exhaust off, drain the oil, and then pop this subframe down, and then we'll loosen the other mounts at the front and the back. Well, we have to anyway when we get the subframe out, and then the engine will be wobbly. Drop it down on the dolly, and then lift the car up and engine. because you can't come under here. So we've got the downpipe off and the 17mm bolt which holds the engine in, and now it is literally rocking on the two side mounts. And for those that don't know, the fuel tank is sitting there in the middle. We've got to undo this clutch line, and then the pipe which goes to that fuel filter, I think, is the last thing that we need to take off before we then drop this whole engine out the bottom. But we do need to drain the oil first. Hello, Buzz. So on this side, which is the driver's side, underneath this mount, there's like two studs that go from the mount downwards like that. And then they'll have two nuts either side, which are 14mm. So we've got to get underneath, get a long extension bar, and I'll use the impact gun and undo those 14mm nuts on that side. So that will drop that side of the engine. I'm also going to undo probably the engine mount. I might not have to, sometimes it gets a bit stuck, but the annoying thing is the intercooler's going to be slightly in the way of that bolt, but we might get away with it. Sometimes it's best to loosen it to give it a little bit of less pressure when taking the engine out. And then coming around the opposite side, we've just got to get to this mount here, which is a 17mm. That will just literally be a ratchet or a gun, whatever way you want to do it. And there is a little nut at the other end, so literally just undo, slide out, and that will drop down that way. So this is the mount that we were talking about. You've got two studs, and then you've got nuts that hold onto there. Now, it got stuck because the bolt coming out of here is very close to the intercooler, so we have actually butchered the intercooler. You can remove it, but it was already knackered, so we didn't need to, and we're going to get a better one. So that is the mount removed, and the engine now dropped. So now we actually have the fun bit, which is get a strap and lift the car above the engine. We're a little bit close to the van actually, but this should be fine. And we are a little bit close to this, but we don't need this anyway, and it's actually damaged on that side as well. So for those that you don't want to damage it, just make this a little bit looser so it sits higher. You can even put it that high up. But here we go, let's lift this up and see what happens. It'll probably do a wee-wee at the front because all the coolant will drain towards the front as well. So now is actually time for the fun bit, and yes, we're lifting up the car with the engine crane. Just be careful of the front bumper here, although ours is completely damaged because obviously the front end has been crashed, but just bear that in mind. You'll probably have to take the lip off or remove the bumper just so you don't damage it. So we're actually using a dolly here, just pulling the engine out away from the chassis. It's nice and easy because it's on a set of wheels, and then just lowering the car on a set of axle stands there, so we can take more parts off for the MR2 build. And as you can see, that is one engine out of an MR2 that you can literally do on your driveway with an engine hoist. Yes guys, so that is the engine out of the donor MR2 Turbo. Super happy, and it actually wasn't that bad of a job. As you saw, we did take the engine mount out, which is by the firewall. It's more of a gearbox mount, because when you lower the engine, the turbo hits that, so we had to remove that. But other than that, it was quite smooth sailing. I was quite actually surprised. Loads of fuel didn't go over the floor. Got a little bit of coolant on the front there where it's lifted up, but nothing major. But there is the engine, and let's show you a few bits. So as normal on these, the cam cover seals do leak, and they go all over the alternators, which is why the alternators always go wrong on these. And as you can see, it's actually quite a new alternator, but it's still covered in some oil. So we're going to change a lot of the seals and gaskets, but the thing that I'm super happy about is, yeah, it's got an LSD gearbox. So that is now another LSD gearbox that we've got for this build, and we know this one runs perfectly as well. Look at all the parts that we've got. We've got the shafts, we've got the subframe, there's the white line anti-roll bar, obviously all the exhaust flexi, the legs. We're not going to use the legs, we probably will use the hubs and the calipers on the rear. We will go bigger disc though. We're going to put some RX-8 discs on the back. We've also got loads of tools all over the floor, which is pretty bad, but here it is with the lump removed out of the MR2. The gear selector cables, we've got to remove a few more bits at that end that we're going to be removing later in another video, so then we can put in that one. So looking from this side of the engine, again, loads of cobwebs and stuff, but actually the engine itself is actually in really good condition. We're going to remove the aircon pump because we don't need aircon in this car. We're going to remove this cracked downpipe as well. I knew it was cracked because it had a lot of flex at the bottom, and they always go, and usually that's because there isn't no support bracket fitted. So a lot of people fit a support bracket to stop it cracking, as you can see here and here. And for those of you that actually worked on MR2s, you know that these bars here, the control arms that go here to the lower hub, are normally a pig to get out of there. But a massive, massive shout out to the previous owner of this car, Emmanuel Gali. Thank you so much. You really did look after this car. Copper greased all the bolts, so these come out lovely. As you can see, these are polybushed as well, so everything come out very, very smoothly. So a huge, huge thumbs up and a thank you to you for actually looking after this car properly. Obviously, apart from the crash, and that's sad, but thank you so much for this. We are like literally over the moon. So we've got a few more bits to take out of the engine bay, and also inside, like looms, gear selector, etc. So we can take those out and actually put that in the track build project car, which will be very, very soon. But for now, we have got this engine out. We've got all these parts all ready for that, and so far we have not gone too far into the budget either, so this is going really, really well. So guys, that ends today's video with the MR2 Turbo engine out of the donor car. And again, a huge thank you to Emmanuel for allowing us to get this car and just working together so we could get this collected. And also a huge shout out to Jack Reynolds as well, who took the Jaguar XJR and got this MR2 for us. So that means that we actually saved a lot of time rather than going to get it as well, and it helped him out, so we're super happy with that. But the plan is now to get this built in the next video. And I say built, but we're not going to open it up, but we're going to get some good little toys for the engine that makes it run a good, smooth power. So if you did enjoy this video and you want to see this engine in that track build MR2 over there, we're on budget. We're generally trying to stick to a low budget build here and actually make it a really good one at the same time. So if you did enjoy this video as much as we are enjoying this, please hit that subscribe. Comment down below, because your comments mean so much to us on this channel, and then we can grow and we can do more things like this. And we've got so many builds that we want to do, and hopefully one day we'll get a ramp as well. So yes, again, if you did like this video, hit that subscribe button, and we look forward to seeing you guys on the next one. See you later.